There's a ton going on in NASCAR in the present day, and none of that should be ignored. There's a lot of great stuff, there's a lot of stuff that is a mystery, and there's just a lot of stuff in general that fans need to adapt to and learn about. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't look forward. And I think that there's a bunch of big questions that need to be asked about the future of NASCAR, about what direction they're going in, how it's going to be done, where they're going, drivers, whatever it may be. So today, I want to propose 7 big questions about the future of NASCAR. My first question is probably the most obvious, and that is, what will the new TV deal look like? At the moment, it's rumored that Fox, NBC, and Amazon are the 3 providers that are going to get NASCAR coverage starting in 2025, with Fox and NBC getting a big bulk of races back that they have currently, and Amazon may be getting a summer 6-pack and a good amount of Xfinity races. Where the Truck Series goes is a mystery, but at the moment, that's the rumor. But I think that there also are questions that can be asked with this and every question we ask. For instance, will Fox and NBC have more or less cable races? Cable is a dying breed of entertainment, and honestly, no one really under the age of 40 is watching cable on a regular basis unless they absolutely have to, or that's the only thing available. Most of this stuff is moving to streaming, digital platforms, or just going on to different websites like YouTube. So are they going to go mostly big broadcast networks like Fox and NBC over FS1 and USA? Or do they desperately need NASCAR to fill time, for instance, for Fox on FS1? Will the networks move to the present day with the broadcast too? That's something that shouldn't be a question. And if Amazon pays a ton of money like they pay the NFL for NASCAR to be one of their pillar sports, how is that going to affect the business model of the sport, seeing how they could dump more money in for less races than Fox and NBC combined? Next may be a doom and gloom question, but what is the plan if these major changes NASCAR is making fail miserably? There's a lot of new stuff in the works right now in NASCAR. We've seen the street race. We've seen super speedway 1.5-mile tracks like Atlanta and maybe Texas be made. We've seen going to road courses, bringing back old tracks like North Wilkesboro and possibly Rockingham. But the question that many need to ask in the excitement is, what happens if this all fails and it's just a flash in the pan? What if it's like the Clash, where year 1 has a ton of hype, and year 2, while having some hype, is less watched and honestly less valued by those who are watching as well? That's something that NASCAR needs to address, because it's good to make these big changes, to try and do something different so you're not boring and stale. But if that boring staleness ends up just materializing in the new stuff too, how are you going to combat that? Something that needs to be asked, and I'm sure NASCAR executives are doing that. Next is a big question for the drivers. Who is going to step up and be the next superstar in NASCAR? Now, I know a lot of people are immediately saying Chase Elliott. He's the most popular driver. But the problem is, Chase Elliott doesn't want to be a superstar. He doesn't want to be in front of the cameras. He doesn't want to show a ton of personality in a negative light. He just wants to go out there and do his job. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with a driver wanting to do that if they're not one of the most popular drivers in all of motorsports. But it's pretty clear that Elliott isn't going to do that. There needs to be a driver who's going to reach out to fans who are not NASCAR fans, but just general sports fans or casual fans, and bring them in. At the moment, Ross Chastain is the favorite. With his crazy antics, his great personality, and now the ability to defend himself against other drivers when it happens, he is the favorite. But he's someone, again, who's unwilling to do so as of this recording. So maybe it's someone we don't know yet. Either way, NASCAR needs a new superstar. Now, many may see this next one as an unfair question, but how can NASCAR mitigate the effects of bad weather on their races? Unfortunately, it's become a trend in the last 4 to 5 years of a ton of races being affected by weather, shortened, moved to the next day, whatever it may be. And currently, NASCAR does have a damp weather package, but you can't really race in any sort of rain in it, so it only kind of cuts delays by maybe 15 minutes, which is good, but I think there still can be improvement shown. We saw at COTA in 2021 the effects of not having a proper package and how dangerous that can be. But how can NASCAR tracks shorten delays or just race through it without it being dangerous? That's what needs to be asked. Maybe there's better dryers so that they can dry the track quicker to get to the damp weather package and cut even more time off than the Air Titans already have and the damp weather package has. That's something I think is the most realistic. Is there a tarp kind of system that maybe part of the track can be covered so at least you don't have to worry about drying all the track? That could be another way, though NASCAR's tried it and it's not worked before. Could there be self-drying tracks? A different compound that dries out quicker? Or maybe something underneath the track similar to how NFL fields have heating underneath their fields that will melt the permafrost basically made during really cold games. Maybe a better rain tire so they can race in more wet conditions. Or different ways to mitigate the rooster tails made by the precipitation on the track when they're racing in it. Whatever it may be, NASCAR does need to figure this out because the more time they're under delay, even if they're shorter delays now than they've ever been, is still more time for people to click away. While in the works for a while, this next question is one I think that many fans are only starting to see today, and that is, how will international expansion be done? Are they just going to go to Canada and Mexico? The North American countries near the United States? That'd be a good way short term, but how is that going to affect it long term? Do they go to Europe, as they've made a bit of a footprint there with Garage 56, and the international showing of SVG has really made a lot of motorsport fans, which many are European, open their eyes to NASCAR as a whole. And then, would there just be a new international series in general that NASCAR could have adjacent to the Cup Series in America? These are all legitimate questions that need to be answered soon, so that fans at least know what direction they're going in, and maybe the industry can face a financial blow of starting international for, honestly, the first time. Now, this next question kind of goes with the new broadcast deal, but how will the charter agreement look moving forward? Is it going to be permanent or not? Jim France doesn't want it to be permanent, but the teams do. Are there going to be 36 charters, or due to the demand and the fact that there's a lot of teams that are now shut out because of how expensive it is, do you go to 40 charters with 3 open spots and bring back 43 car fields? It's something a lot of fans have wanted, and I assume some in the garage probably wanted, as it would mean more jobs for more teams, but that's a question that needs to be asked because the money split will be very important on this. And the final question we'll ask is, how are the engines and the packages that the engines have going to look? Are we going to have a lot of horsepower? Are they going to go to hybrid anytime soon like they've talked about in the past? Or will they go in the direction the car industry is going in and just go full electric? And once you answer that question, if hybrid engines are the norm or electric engines are the norm, how is that going to affect how the teams hire? Who works for the teams, as they're completely different engines? Or how will that affect the fans watching at home? Because like it or not, a lot of people, even outside of motorsports, hate the push to electric because in a lot of ways people feel forced to do so. And many people may just drop off if you completely change the sound of it. Just look at the electric series that F1 has and how it sounds compared to normal gas-consuming engines. Could you maybe make a synthetic fuel, a different fuel that doesn't really burn off and have as many harmful effects that NASCAR would not want the mainstream or just in general people to look at or sponsors to look at because it would affect them on the bottom line? Those are questions that need to be answered and will have to come up in the next 10 to 20 years. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to you. What questions do you have for NASCAR's future? They're probably legitimate ones because there are a ton that can be asked. So let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great NASCAR and motorsports content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.